Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. There are people who are nobles from noble families, and then there are nobles amongst nobles. And it was from a house of nobility that a notable noble was born. He is the second of the 7 jurists of Medina. His name is Imam Urwah ibn Az-Zubayr radiyallahu anhu wa rahimahullah. His father was Hazrat Zubayr ibn al-Awwam radiyallahu anhu, one of the Ashratul Mubashireen bil Jannah, those 10 Sahaba radiyallahu anhum given the glad tidings of Jannah while they were alive on this earth. His mother was Hazrat Asma binti Abi Bakr radiyallahu anhuma, the daughter of Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. His grandfather was Hazrat Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu, the greatest person after the Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. His aunt was Ummul Mu'mineen, Hazrat Aisha as-Siddiqa radiyallahu anha, and his brother was Hazrat Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiyallahu anhuma. It was from this home of greatness, in the 23rd year after Hijrah in Medina, that Imam Urwah ibn Zubayr Rahimahullaah was born. Imam Urwah Rahimahullah began studying the deen from a young age. He studied under his father, Hazrat Zubayr radiyallahu anhu, his aunt, Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha, and the other senior Sahaba radiyallahu anhum like Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu anhu, Hazrat Zayd ibn Thabit radiyallahu anhu, Hazrat Usama ibn Zayd radiyallahu anhu, and many others. Imam Urwah Rahimahullah had 2 aspects of good fortune in his life which made him excel ahead of others. The first was that Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha was his aunt, so he was free to spend as much time as he wanted with her, and that is in fact what he did. He was like a shadow to Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha, to the extent that about 3 or 4 years before Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha passed away, Imam Urwah rahimahullah made a comment saying that there is not a hadith that Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha had narrated, but that he had memorized it. Imam Urwah rahimahullah himself would ask Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha questions, and he would also be present when other people would ask questions of Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha. So he had an insider's look at everything, the hadith and the fiqh of Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu anha. The second good fortune that Imam Urwah rahimahullah had was that his father was Hazrat Zubayr radiyallahu anhu, the Hawari of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and a knight from the knights of jihad who would always play a big role in every battle that took place in Islam since the day that he became Muslim. This led Imam Urwah rahimahullah to be the first person to actually lay down the foundation for the compilation of the history of Islam, together with the ghazawat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the battles fought by the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Imam Urwah rahimahullah gathered all of this in chronological order in his memory and had penned down some personal notes at one point. But Imam Urwah rahimahullah destroyed it out of fear that someone may find it after he had passed away and assume it to be part of the Quran, as this was in the early days before the Mus'haf was freely available in written form for everyone, and the ulama had not yet begun authoring kitabs. So Imam Urwah rahimahullah became the leading figure, having the most holistic picture of the history of Islam, and all those ulama who came after him relied upon him in their compilations of that history. Imam Urwah rahimahullah was a person of great piety, and it was his habit to fast every single day of his life, excluding the days when it's prohibited to fast. And every single day without fail, he would recite a quarter of the Quran, 7.5 ajza or paras as we would say, and he never missed this except one single day in his life. There are many things that can be said about Imam Urwah rahimahullah, but one of the things that he is most famous for besides his knowledge is the amount of sabr that he had, because he bore all difficulties without any complaint. One incident that shows the sabr of Imam Urwah rahimahullah is when he traveled to Damascus to meet with the Umayyad Khalifa Al-Walid ibn Abd al-Malik. While on this journey, Imam Urwah rahimahullah felt a pain in his foot, so he looked and found a sore on his foot. But there was nothing he could do while on the road, so he continued his journey, and this pain continued to intensify. Until when he reached Damascus, the Khalifa Al-Walid told him that this is gangrene, and I think you will have to amputate it. But Imam Urwah rahimahullah refused, and the pain increased. So Al-Walid called his doctors to see what can be done. And by now the gangrene had spread already to Imam Urwah rahimahullah's shin. So the doctor said, the only way is amputation. And Al-Walid told Imam Urwah Rahimahullah that before the gangrene spreads further through his body, he should amputate his leg now. So Imam Urwah Rahimahullah agreed, and the doctors prepared him for the operation. When the doctors were ready to do the amputation, they told Imam Urwah Rahimahullah to drink an alcoholic drink in order to knock him out and ease the pain. But Imam Urwah Rahimahullah refused because he was fasting, and he said he would not take assistance from something which is haram. So he told them to go ahead and amputate his leg as is. Without anything for the pain, without being tied down or having anyone hold him down, Imam Urwah Rahimahullah began reciting Quran and making dhikr. And the doctors got to work, cutting through his flesh and then sawing through his bone. And they amputated his leg just below the knee. And throughout the entire time, Imam Urwah Rahimahullah never flinched. He just kept on reciting. And the historians mentioned that Imam Urwah Rahimahullah's face didn't even change, as if he didn't feel anything as his leg was being sawed off. And then boiling oil was brought and his wound cauterized. Then the amputated leg was presented to him, and Imam Urwah Rahimahullah said, "By Allah, as far as I know, I did not use you to walk towards anything haram." And then he had his leg wrapped up and buried. But the sabr of Imam Urwah Rahimahullah didn't end there, because Imam Urwah Rahimahullah had brought one of his sons with on this journey. And this son went exploring, and while walking along the way, he lost his footing and fell into the stables amongst the horses. This unnerved the horses, and they ended up trampling Imam Urwah Rahimahullah's son to death. When he was given the news of his son's death, Imam Urwah Rahimahullah remained steadfast, and the first and only comment he made was when he was almost home. He repeated the words of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam in the Quran, لَقَدْ لَقِينَا مِن سَفَرِنَا هَذَا نَصَبًا, which means we have certainly suffered much fatigue in this journey of ours. Thereafter, Imam Urwah Rahimahullah, he made this statement. He said, "O Allah, you gave me 7 sons. You took one and you left me with 6. And you gave me 4 limbs," referring to his arms and legs. "You gave me 4 limbs, you took one and you left me with 3. If you had tested me, O Allah, then you are also the one that has cured me. And if you had taken something from me, then you are also the one that spared me too." In other words, O Allah, everything is from you, and it's so little that you had taken from me compared to what you had given to me. Imam Urwah Rahimahullah lived his life out on this earth, worshipping Allah and spreading the deen to others. And until and including the day that he passed away, Imam Urwah Rahimahullah continued to fast every day, and thus he passed away in a state of fasting at the age of about 70 years old. May Allah grant us the ability to have sabrun jameel and not lose sight of the many favors that Allah favors us with on a daily basis. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen, wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.